Yo, what's up, YouTubers? We're down here in Texas today. It is hot. It is morning, and it's hot. So, innovation is bred through necessity, and I made a recent realization that a lot of what I do is because of necessity, not discipline. So you can have a lack of discipline, but a great need and the necessity and get her done. You know what I mean? You'll do a lot for a sandwich if you're starving. You know, if the necessity for the family puts you in a situation to where, you know, you got to earn a wage to keep everything afloat. Well, you wake up and you go to work. You do what you got to do. And the love of your family in that moment is what's, you know, you got to provide for them. That's your necessity. And then you love them and everything. And then you go on and go. And if you were just a single man and you wasn't in that bind and you didn't have that pressure, you might do it out of a disciplined do right. But the odds of getting her done, son, is much greater the more that you get into the necessity side. So I need my wife, who seems like an anchor, like a boat anchor, the old ball and chain. Okay? The anchor is great when the ship is in harbor during a storm. To be anchored, to be rooted and grounded in love is tremendous, because it'll take you further than discipline. You can't go as far on discipline as you can go on love. And considering the example of love, so that's what we should be seeking out. That's what we should be looking for. That's what's going to get us through. That's the power of love. Okay, but we want to focus more of a agape love, and kind of, you know, pump the brakes and set the erotica on the shelf. Okay, like we're oversaturated in that area as Americans, and we need more of the agape, the brotherly, and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So, in our quest for discipline, it's we're hedging our bets and we're setting ourselves up to succeed. You know what I mean? The chances of me paying off my house, staying out here working, if I'm, you know, working for Jesus, making tube videos, handing out Bibles and stuff, you know what I mean? I'm going to have a peace. I'm going to have a certain strength, a hope, a calling fulfilled, scratch the itch type of thing. And then if I, you know, get in a season where I'm just like, I hate being in this truck, right? My necessity to provide for my family will get me through that, even without discipline. Even with the discipline of a guy that's nicknamed Skip, because, like, I've quit jobs people have dreamed of. You know what I mean? Like the joke about Skip's Home Services was, I would quit. You know what I mean? I would be working for somebody and we would be on a roof or something like that, and so I get to run in their neck one way or another. And I'm like, hey, come here for a second. And I'm like, how did you want this done? And I'd hand them the tool, and once they had the tool in their hand, and they started to show me how to do it, I'll say, okay, just keep that up till you're done. And I'd go get in my truck and leave. I didn't care about the money. I had FU money in the 80s. Because I was just like, F you, I don't need this. And I just quit and go on. F you money is, I have enough provision, I don't need you. So if you're going to be a jerk, F you, I'm going on about my business, right? F you money is, you know, a cornfield and a homestead and, you know, an oil well that's pumping oil, that's, you know, providing the monetary units or whatever, and I got my infrastructure and all this self-sustaining whatever situation where, you know, if I don't like what somebody says, I can just be like, F you. That's F you, buddy. Well, when your standards are so low and you're a single man, you're 20 years old, the boss man's being a jerk, you're 3 states away from home, it's like, F you. You know? And just go get another job. You know? And when you're a high quality individual, you can do that. You know what I mean? I got fired one time. I was so devastated. And then I did everything I could to get the job back and then quit. You know what I mean? I did a different job. I got fired. Kind of the same thing. And I was talking to the guy, and he's like, why are we still talking? I was like, well, I was actually going to try to get my job back and quit, really. So I guess, yeah, I've outgrown that as well. And me and the dude actually seen eye to eye. It's just others there thought I was disrespectful. And I can see that looking back. Anyways, I wasn't wrong, but I was disrespectful in the way I went about it. And if it was 2 dudes talking, it would have been fine. But because it was the office lady, it was out of pocket. Because the, you know, anyway. So, am I going to get out of this truck and just run until I throw up? And it's, 96 degrees outside at 11:38 in the morning? Probably not. Should I? Yeah. I've been up all night. This is like, man, my sleep's all messed up and everything. I probably knocked 2 weeks off the end of my life in the last 3 days by staying up and, driving the truck all night. They can't sleep during the day or whatever, and not exercising, and eating grilled cheese sandwiches and going to bed, you know what I mean? Trying to eat the carbs, that way I will fall asleep. Then, of course, having food in my belly, I don't get quality sleep. And then at night, I'm not hungry, you know what I mean? But I'm eating stupid, fiery hot Doritos or whatever it was, Munchers or whatever. But you get the fiery hot stuff and then drink the hot coffee and it keeps you awake. And falling asleep driving will kill you a lot quicker than Doritos. But that ain't keeping a diet. That's why after 65 is very, very difficult on the average truck driver. You come out here and you drive about 3 million miles at, 60, 70 miles an hour. Do the math on that. How long did you sit there? You know what I mean? And that's definitely a sedentary lifestyle, so you got to get out and work. I think the flatbedders do the best with that, because the necessity to strap the load down and all that stuff. And, I do the drive-in, that way I have the option of, stay in the air conditioning, and just stay out of the bad weather. The frozen tarps, man, it just, oh man, if I'm gonna work that hard, I'm just gonna rip a house and get the big money, And so it don't make no sense to me. It makes me mad. I probably should switch to flatbed just because it will make me mad and make me more active. Getting up, getting down, all that stuff. But there's some parts of that that's bad, like throwing them straps and throwing the chains. I know a lot of guys that got shoulder problems now from that, so it is what it is. Maybe a couple years of it in the future. It pays better if you got your own truck to do the flatbed and step deck stuff. If you get a mid-roof truck and you run the step deck and you carry ramps break down, you can put your truck on your trailer and then do a power only and put yourself on the load board, hire somebody to drag you back home instead of paying that big bill out on the road. For some reason, if you're a local guy, the mechanic costs, $15,000 to rebuild your motor, but if you're on the road somewhere, it's $45,000, and then they mess it up, you got to get it worked on again. So that's a giant deterrent. Anyways, so necessity, that's when it's if a man finds a godly favor from God, that's your anchor, man. Your woman's got your back and stuff. And then, you know, she word. I was just talking to my wife, and she said, I brought up the fact about the socks. I said, you know, when you wash my socks and fold them, you just take 2 socks, just fold them together. You got 600 pairs of socks that look exactly the same. It's a 50-50 shot that you're going to get down to an even number or odd number. You know what I mean? So that's cool. So you don't notice that you lost one. Little bonus tip there. Buy the exact same socks. Anyway, I was telling her, I said, every time if they're not folded, then they're dirty, and if they're folded, they're clean. And every morning I grab a pair of socks and I unfold them. It's just like I feel like I get a hug, like my wife give me a hug or something. You know what I mean? And she take care of me. And then, man, I'm gonna go over here and go to sleep. I probably will work out. Just the thought of being as fat as I am is really starting to make me mad. Ever since I made that video from the side where I was making that Gatorade, that's what I need to do. That'll motivate me. Just watch that. My old gut sticking out. It's terrible. And I don't know what the deal is, but you know, I've had a couple of people be like, "Hey, big guy, how's it going?" And I've been working out and everything, and then I got away from my diet, and I packed some back on, and I think I'm fatter now than I was. So that's real bad. That's terrible. But I did accomplish the dual fuel, which was my goal. I wanted to be able to go without sugar and bread in my body, be able to deal with it, because I've been in the woods before, just, you know, living off squirrels and crawdads type of deal, and you will get sick if your body's not used to that type of stuff. And then if you get used to that type of stuff and you eat a sandwich, you know what I mean? If you've been eating all meat and, you know, some vegetables, you know, watercress, crawdads, and squirrel for, you know, 2 months, or like in modern times, like, you know, in the last 2 years, if you're eating nothing but steak and broccoli for 90 days, and then you go get a Subway sandwich with some tuna fish or whatever, yeah, it will mess up your gut. You will have a unpleasant time switching over to the modern, you know, synthetic food, I guess you call it, the Franken food. Will make you sick if you're not used to the bread. And so that's something to be aware of. And dual fuel, it's like, you know, I can live off of real food, or I can, you know, eat out of the truck stop. You know, the truck stop garbage is it's garbage. You know what I mean? Anyway, so I'm gonna go here and work out, I guess. I got 1 hour and 6 minutes to find a place to call it a day. All right, well, Rock Hill, go get them.